Hey, everybody, it's Tony Rubleski. Welcome to another episode of the Don't Quit, Do It podcast here on YouTube. This episode, I want to talk about the power of mentors and coaches to positively disrupt your life on multiple fronts. So let's go into, again, Don't Quit, Do It here. And one of the lessons, number 28, I'm going to read a quote about the powers of mentors and coaches. Here it is from Sean Stevenson. He said, "One good mentor can be more informative than a college education and more valuable than a decade's income." Wow. Lot to unpack there, but let me start by saying this. I've been very blessed my entire life to have mentors. Some have been paid, some have been unpaid mentors. I'm gonna do a little show and tell here in a minute. I have a little stack of extra stuff here on the table, but I thought let's give some visual proof and maybe a key takeaway or two of value that these mentors, many of these you're gonna meet, I've paid, have instructed me that I can maybe disseminate a nugget or two of value to you, the listener. So again, if you haven't already, hit the like, subscribe button. Love to get your comments. If there's a mentor in here that you want more information about, I can put some information on that. If there's something that you say, hey, I've got an idea for an episode based on this one, please let us know. We are actively listening to you. We want to keep growing the channel. And again, if this really resonates and connects with you deeply, share it with a couple people you know so that they can find out how to improve their life through the powers of mentors. All right, let's dive into the stack here. This was interesting. It was like a little show and tell here. But I'm going to go back to 1995 when this photo was taken. That is the other Tony R, known as Tony Robbins. And that is a much younger version of me back in my early 20s. And I always say that, the other Tony R was really the reason I dove into personal development when I was 17 years old. I was curious about things, went away to college. And about a year later, I went into a bookstore in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And I picked up Awaken the Giant Within off the bookstore shelf by Tony Robbins, Anthony Robbins at the time. And it forever changed my destiny. I was like, wow, how come I didn't learn this in high school or even during college right now? Why are we not learning about motivation, goal setting, visualization? And I'm sure some of my courses had that embedded in there, but it wasn't really as prevalent about the impact that those skill sets would have on your life. I had to go find it. Now, again, this is pre YouTube, pre internet. This would have been around 1991, 92. Yes, I'm old. However, the timeless lesson was this. We used to have to go find this type of content. Now you can find it on millions of channels on YouTube, social media, Instagram. It's like everyone's a motivational speaker, it seems like these days. But that's a good thing because we need more positivity. Another mentor here is a big reason why we're sitting in the studio recording this is Dan Kennedy. This was in 2004 in Phoenix. Again, cell phones back then weren't as good. So these are ancient relics called printed photos, children. Look, an ancient artifact, a printed photo. Okay. But this was at an event where we're holding the first copy of the Mind Capture book that Dan wrote the foreword to. And little did I know in my early 30s, again, another pivotal moment, or as Jim Rohn would say, the day that turns your life around. When Dan Kennedy endorsed the first book here in the Mind Capture series way, way back, I felt a great sense of obligation to not let my mentor down. Dan is still here. He's in his late 60s now. He's arguably one of the top direct marketers of all time. You can name drop, look at Russell Brunson. Many of the top internet marketers call Dan the OG of direct response. I was very fortunate and blessed to be in the right place at the right time. He took a liking to my work. I worked in advertising in my late 20s. He wrote the endorsement for the first Mind Capture book, and here we are 10 books later. But had that endorsement not come down from Dan, I don't know if we'd be sitting in this chair recording. Maybe I never started the company, never have maybe pursued writing more books, but I took it as a great honor and a great responsibility I don't take lightly is don't screw up with your talents. If this guy believes in you at a young age, you better go out there and fulfill the mission, not because he told me to, but to go help people with your skills and your talents. All right, next mentor. It's a visual representation. We've got to go back a couple thousand years ago. His name is Jesus. And if you'd asked me a few years ago if I'd have been talking about this, I've been, no, I don't talk about religion or politics. There's one exception here, my faith walk. And I look at, the last several years in my faith journey, how his mentorship through the written words of the Bible has become even more valuable. Again, we're not here to preach at you on this channel, but I'd be remiss and it'd be a huge error or omission not to say that his work and his teaching, his message, which has lived on for thousands of years, has had a massive impact on me, particularly the last 10 years, about how to deal particularly with life and business. because you see a lot of shady stuff. You see people being deceptive. I'm no saint. I've written about that. Okay. But if we're striving to move forward, find a good mentor or spiritual role model. And I've landed now many years, all these years later, after looking around all sorts of faith walks and patterns, that he is the way for me. Okay. Some other mentors, Brian Tracy, the master of goal setting. I was very blessed to interview him many years ago when I was doing a series called Captured Wisdom. And he actually explained to me on the phone, I asked him the question, talk to me about your goal setting system. And as a geek of motivation and personal development, when he went through and we recorded the interview and he explained how he sets goals, I thought, oh my God, this guy's giving me his time. He's sold millions of books. He doesn't know who I am, some dude in Michigan. Ask him about his books. The one I held up here, I'll shoot it again to you, is called Eat That Frog, is one of my favorite books of Brian. I think he's written somewhere like 30 plus books. Okay, so I got to keep hustling. But this book about getting things done, chunking things down, eating the frog, how you eat the elephant one bite at a time. That book has been instrumental. How I get a lot of things such as writing books done is the influence and mentorship of Brian Tracy. I'll give you one more quick one here. His name is Ben Gay III. He's in his 80s now. Ben was mentored by, no joke, the late Dr. Napoleon Hill. So when we tag this video, YouTube's going to be like, what is all these name drops? But I've been very blessed. This is not to boast. I'm sharing you inside the vault of people spiritually that are still alive and in the printed word that have influenced my career, that I've shared their names with thousands of groups throughout the last 20 plus years. But Ben's work on the art of sales, his series called The Closers, I've read hundreds of sales books. I've interviewed the best. And Ben, to me, even in his 80s, kind of like the old Obi-Wan, Ben Kenobi, Ben Gay, his book, The Closers, I think hands down one of the best books ever written, or book series on the art of selling. So Ben didn't ask me to say that. And why I mentioned Napoleon Hill is this. Napoleon Hill wrote the book series called Think and Grow Rich. He also wrote one of my favorite books, which I don't have on me, called Outwitting the Devil. He died in 1970, and I'm going to do a future podcast or an episode on YouTube here about Ben Gay alone. He's that relevant. He's still alive. He's become a friend the last few years and spoke at a couple of my events. The guy showed up at my events. I'm like, he doesn't have to do this. So super grateful. He gave me the gift of time and attention, but more importantly, his books. But Napoleon Hill, in 1968, Ben was the CEO of a company called Holiday Magic, big direct selling company. In 1968, Ben hears a knock on the door. The chairman of the board opens the door and says, Ben, I want you to meet your mentor, Napoleon Hill. And when he told me this the first time, 12, 13 years ago on the phone, I was like, you're kidding me. Dr. Napoleon Hill's work has sold hundreds of millions of copies. Think and Grow Rich is really almost arguably the Bible of the personal development industry. Millions of people read it every year. They swear by it. I read it when I was just a youngster in the industry. But to be mentored by someone is influential. Ben was in his early to mid 20s, I believe, 24, 25 when he met Dr. Hill. Napoleon Hill died in 1970. So Ben is one of the few people still alive, still coherent, that was directly one-to-one mentored by Dr. Napoleon Hill. So I look at the lineage, the historical archive of those that are gifting their knowledge in real time. But Ben to me is like a bridge to one of the legends. That is, Napoleon Hill was exiting the earthly plane. Ben was being mentored and guided in his early 20s to share that wisdom of Dr. Hill directly and in his own written works, which have sold millions of books on their own. So let me break it down for you. A few quick reasons why mentors are so incredibly valuable. Time. I'm pointing at my watch here. Time is the most valuable thing, I believe, besides attention. That's been my platform for 20 plus years, is the attention war we're in, or mind capture is escalating. If you want any shot, you've got to get good at getting people's time, holding it, and keeping their attention. So a mentor saves you incredible amounts of time. I remember being back in my early 20s when I heard Tony Robbins speak the first time. He said something, I'm going to paraphrase. If you want to get from point A to point B as fast as possible, find the mentor that's 10 or 20 years out in front of you. He or she can save you massive time. They can show you shortcuts, not complete hacks. You're still going to have to work and hustle. Don't quit. You got to do it. Okay. But they're going to show you ways that they became more successful, of things that worked, but also things to avoid. Things that you might step on and go, oh my gosh, a mentor could have said, hey, I wouldn't recommend that. You can do what you want, but here's what I found, or several of my clients found working with this company, or we tried that strategy, or we tried this angle and it did not work. If they're farther down the road than me, maybe I should listen to them. Let me give you kind of a sidebar here about the power of listening. And it was one of the other episodes we've done. If you are coachable, a mentor may take you on. If you want to challenge your mentor and question and fight with them, or a coach, they're kind of the same thing. That good mentor or coach will fire you. They'll refund your money. When I hire coaches paid, many times I tell myself before I get in that call or a face-to-face meeting, Tony, shut up. Take your ego, put it on the shelf, and listen very carefully, because they're giving you their time, their wisdom, and you owe it to them to not battle their mentorship, to be open, to be an open mind. Doesn't mean you can't question it later. You have free will, but they're giving you that valuable gift of all those years of knowledge, and you're paying for it. Okay. So you're going to save not only time, you're going to get the wisdom they have because they're farther down the road. And I think really the third thing is this, is that their stories. This is often not talked a lot about when people talk about the power of a mentor or coach. Many of your mentor stories are going to so serve you deeply years down the road, not only because they gave you time, but you're not going to remember all the things they coached you on or the advice they gave you, but they might give you 4 or 5 incredible stories from their life force that you're going to forget long after you've engaged them in a paid relationship. Maybe they've passed on. You're going to remember the story. I can tell you one real quick. Ben Gay the third, he's still alive. Thank goodness. Ben, appreciate you, my friend. One of his stories is about focus in his book, The Closers, that I just held up. And the chapter title in the story is Fly the Plane, Son. Just fly the plane. And the entire premise of that chapter, which is a great headline, is how do you focus? And he goes on to reveal in that story, in that wonderfully written chapter, that if you're in an airplane and the airplane has a problem, you want that pilot to focus on the problem at hand, not the other 10 things going on in their life, looking at their cell phone, checking TikTok, for example. You want them to just fly the plane, son. Focus on flying the plane. And I've never forgotten when he told that story live. I share it in some of my works. I share it from stage. The world we're in right now, focus is extremely valuable. And the better you can get at focusing and giving people the gift of time and attention and listening, many things we talk about in these episodes, you stack those things together, you become incredibly valuable in the marketplace. AI can't replicate you. The algorithm can't clone you. You get really good at these soft skills, the mentorship, the listening, implementing things, doing things, making moves. You will easily stand out. So again, as we wrap up this episode, I cannot again thank my mentors alive and many that have passed on. One is my spiritual mentor, my savior, for their gifts of knowledge and instruction that live on much longer than they do. So again, I appreciate you watching this episode. Again, drop a comment, like, and subscribe. If this resonates and connects with you deeply, check out some of the resources, some of the mentors and coaches I recommended. And again, drop a like in the comment and a note some of your favorite mentors and coaches. I would love to hear and explore what's really helped you in your life path. Take care.